Star Wars, the greatest saga of all time. Were the sequels a disaster? Let's talk about this. Hey guys, it's Sonata. So this talk is actually a fun one for me because it's a fan talk, and I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. Got my Baby Yoda shirt on. I love Star Wars. When I was young, my family originally introduced me in the chronological order: episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6. And instantly after episode 1, I fell in love with the whole entire saga. And ever since then, I've been a massive Star Wars fan, huge Star Wars fan. Now, not the biggest Star Wars fan in the whole world, okay? Let's get that straight. There are those crazy big fans on this side of the spectrum. People that don't care about Star Wars at all right there. And I'm maybe like right here. So we got crazy, me, and then nobody, and then people that enjoy the videos. Okay, so I'm a little above average, okay? Let's say that. The sequels that came out, episode 7, 8, and 9, you guys know what I'm talking about. Huge debate going on right now because they modified how the original story ended. And so let's talk about this for a second. In 2015, episode 7 was released. This film was directed by J.J. Abrams after Disney acquired Lucas Films. When this movie came out, it was actually not that bad of a reception. People actually liked it. It stuck very close to how the structure of episode 4, the original Star Wars, was written, and fans adopted it. They're like, okay, this is not bad. Disney actually might do something good with these continued episodes. Keep in mind, this is after the fact that they just went on this whole trip with episode 1, 2, and 3, where George Lucas completely ruined the whole entire saga with episode 1, 2, and 3. I don't think he did, but there was a lot of people that thought that. And so when they saw episode 7, it was very similar to episode 4, people were like, wow, this is a nice, fresh, kind of like flashback to what Star Wars was originally made like. And people liked it. People liked that. I'm not saying everyone liked it, but it was the majority of people that saw it accepted it and enjoyed it. So Disney's off to this great start already, okay? Here comes episode 8. Episode 8 hits. By far, probably one of the most creative Star Wars in these last 3 films that they made, episodes 7, 8, and 9. 8 is probably the most creative. It took the most risks and wasn't very conventional with how they wrote the story out. And this one was directed by Rian Johnson. So Disney took the risk of having multiple directors direct the episodes coming up, because we had J.J. Abrams in 7, and now in 8 we have Rian Johnson. And so obviously it's going to have a different feel than episode 7 did. Completely different director. Now I understand they couldn't get George Lucas to do 7, 8, and 9, so I could understand J.J. Abrams. The way he directed 7, it kind of matched with George Lucas's style of directing, and I thought it flowed well. Now, when Disney threw in this, let's have a different director, direct episode 8, you can see how things started to get a little iffy, and so episode 8 took lots of risks. I think, personally. I loved the film, but a lot of the original fan base did not like it, and even some of the new fan base don't like it. And I think it's to this very reason right here, because it's so different from the rest of the saga, episode 1 through 7 at this point in time, that it felt out of place. It didn't feel like it was part of the Star Wars saga. It felt, if it was its own Star Wars video or Star Wars movie, I think it would have been great. I think it would have been pretty widely accepted, and people would have been like, wow, this is creative. We like this. But because it was part of the sequel and didn't really have the same feel as all the rest of the saga, I think that's where people were getting tripped up about it. And I can somewhat agree. When you're writing a saga or a sequence of videos that are supposed to go with each other, not only is the story supposed to flow, but to me personally, I feel like the way the shots are taken, the way things are edited, the way things the way the story is told, all should also have a similarity going across, so it all connects. And you don't see that in episode 8. You feel the different type of storytelling. Nothing against Ryan Johnson. I think he did an excellent job. I think this was Disney's fault for even having the option of multiple directors in these last films. I don't know. This is the part I don't know. I don't know if they originally came to J.J. Abrams and were like, hey, we want you to direct the last 3, 7, 8, and 9. And I don't know if J.J. Abrams was like, nah, that's not for me. I'll do one of them. They're like, one is better than none. I don't know what happened exactly, but something happened, and I think they should have had all 7, 8, and 9 directed by the same person. And my crazy robot is talking to me again. Moving on to episode 9. So 7 came out, J.J. Abrams, 2015. Episode 8 came out, 2017, Ryan Johnson. And then Disney realized that they made a mistake. Bad time for them to realize they made a mistake when they have only one episode left to fix everything. So somehow they got J.J. Abrams back on board. All right, so he's back for this one, and this is being released in 2019. Okay, so they're each 2 years apart. And J.J. Abrams had a lot on his plate to fix, okay? So he had to somehow take all the craziness that happened in 8 and then tie it all up and then wrap up the entire saga. 7, not only 7 through 9, but 1 through 9. All 9 episodes somehow had to come to this conclusion and give it this final feel. And I think the writers of episode 9 did as good of a job as they could have with this episode. I think this one again didn't get very good reception. Not very many people liked it. It was kind of split right down the middle. Fans were kind of divided on it. And but, with the cards they were given, could they have done better? I don't know. I'm not in their shoes. I wasn't in their shoes when these decisions were made. If anything, I was just watching from the outside, seeing how everything was coming together. And I know Disney has really great writers, really great people on these movies. And it was just a hard hand to figure out because you had 7, which stuck to episode 4 pretty closely. 8, which was like almost a rogue movie in a way. It was so creative. It didn't really fit. It felt like it wasn't, the sequel at all. So 7 lined up with the saga. 8 did not, and they needed 9 to tie everything back together. And I think they did the best job that they possibly could with the resources that they had. And for me, I felt like it did a great job at summing up, at closing the saga, closing the Star Wars Skywalker series. And do I think the story could have gone a different way? Yeah, I think it could have. I think it could have. Whenever you have a story, there's unlimited possibilities where it could go. And this is the way they decided to go. They decided to keep it very, very much cookie cutter to how episode 4, 5, and 6 were made. Basically, some terrible killing machine is being brought up, or a terrible army, and they got to go kill. That's essentially the whole entire plot of Star Wars. And I feel like they stuck very close to familiar concepts. They didn't really branch out and get creative. But then again, they were wrapping up all the episodes, so it's kind of hard to be creative when this episode is strictly for closing the series. I think they did a great job with what they were given, and in my opinion, I liked 7, 8, and 9. I think, despite everything that we just talked about, I think they make a great addition to the original saga, 1 through 6, and I think, and I'm going to be very, very excited to show my kids when I have some, episodes 1 through 9, and that is going to be Star Wars to them, so I'm very excited about that. Now, our last question before we end this is, where should Disney go from here? So they already discussed that 9 is the end. 9 is already the end of this Skywalker saga. I think they should get as far away from the original story as they possibly can. Still stay in the Star Wars universe, but go somewhere that you're not going to be offending fans that have grown up on Star Wars. And that's why I think Mandalorian is doing so well, because it's far enough removed from the Star Wars main plot line that people don't really get offended that you're modifying their childhood, if that makes sense. Because Star Wars is a very, very emotional film for a lot of emotional series of films for a lot of people because they grew up on them. And so the further they can get away from that story but still tied into Star Wars, I think the better. And as long as they are creative every time, they're pushing the boundaries of technology. Because when you watch interviews with George Lucas, when he was making the other films, that was the main goal of Star Wars, was to push the limits of technology, of computer graphics. And if there's not something that wows everyone in an episode, like, you know, in his take, he was like, then what was the point of making the video? And I actually somewhat agree with that, because I like to see new technical challenges be conquered. And I love a good story. Don't get me wrong there. I love a good action scene, but I also love good uses of bleeding edge technology. And I think if Disney has a good story and uses some of the concepts that the original Star Wars were made out of, but stay away from that story, I think they'll be just fine. And I think Star Wars will continue to be the amazing universe that we all know it to be. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments section below. Or if you're listening to this, go ahead and follow me on my YouTube channel, Sonata Live, and hit that like button on this video and also the subscribe button. And hey, there is a bell there, just so everyone knows. You know, you don't have to check my channel every day to see if I posted something. Google did something amazing, added this bell, all right? So this bell is magical. It'll let you know when a new video is there. Who knew, right? So make sure you enable that little guy, and I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I hope to actually bring something really cool to you guys, publish something cool here very soon, something I've been working on. So I will see you guys in the next video. This is Sonata, signing out.